The Pine Grove Community Center buzzed with tension as Sarah pushed through the double doors. The emergency HOA meeting she demanded had drawn an unexpected crowd, filling the room with nervous whispers and smartphone cameras ready to record. Marcus Thompson's reputation preceded him like a storm cloud. He'd arrived fashionably late, strutting into the room wearing a charcoal Armani suit that screamed new money, flanked by two property developers whose predatory smiles matched his own. "Ms. Chen." Thompson's voice dripped with artificial sweetness. "I understand you have concerns about our community improvement project." He stood at the podium, perfectly positioned under the lights like an actor on stage. The 10-member HOA board, mostly Thompson's personal friends from his country club, sat behind him like a wall of expensive suits and carefully crafted indifference. Sarah's hands didn't shake as she approached the microphone. She'd spent the last 24 hours preparing for this moment, her property documents organized in a leather portfolio her daughter Emma had given her for Christmas. "I don't have concerns, Mr. Thompson," she replied, her voice clear and steady. "I have proof. This is my property deed from 1962, showing clear ownership of the road. And this," she held up a certified survey map, "shows the property boundaries that you're currently violating." Thompson didn't just dismiss her evidence, he laughed, a sound that set her teeth on edge. The sound echoed off the community center's walls, joined by nervous titters from his board members. "Times change, Ms. Chen," he drawled, gesturing to a glossy rendering of the water park that now dominated the room's front wall. "Progress is inevitable. Pine Grove needs to evolve, and your little gravel path is standing in the way of a multi-million-dollar improvement project." The next morning brought the sound Sarah had been dreading. The rumble of construction equipment shattered the dawn silence, sending Max into a barking frenzy. From her kitchen window, she watched in growing anger as Thompson posed for photos with his construction crew, using her road as a backdrop for his social media victory lap. His phone flashed repeatedly as he documented what he clearly thought was his moment of triumph. But Thompson's smug smile faltered when he spotted Sarah in her yard, methodically taking pictures of her own. Each click of her camera documented every piece of equipment crossing her property line, every worker trespassing without permission, and every inch of damage they caused. When their eyes met across the distance, Thompson's confident facade cracked just slightly. For the first time, he saw something in Sarah's expression that gave him pause, not defeat, but determination. She'd already sent the previous day's meeting recordings to her lawyer, and Thompson's dismissive laugh would soon come back to haunt him. "Smile, Mr. Thompson," Sarah muttered under her breath as she captured another photo. "This isn't your victory photo shoot. It's evidence." Sarah's dining room transformed into a war room within 48 hours. Diana Martinez, her property rights attorney, sat surrounded by land surveys, historical photos, and satellite images, while Sarah's laptop displayed a damning collection of Thompson's previous development projects. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across documents revealing a pattern. 3 other neighborhoods, 3 similar attempts to seize private property, all within the last 5 years. "He's gotten bolder," Diana observed, pushing her wire-rimmed glasses up her nose as she examined a particularly telling email chain. "But this time, he got sloppy." She tapped a printed message from Thompson to his board members, the timestamp showing it was sent just hours after Sarah's confrontation at the community center. His words, "handle the Chen situation by any means necessary," would come back to bite him. Their breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Jessica Winters, Thompson's former assistant now working at City Hall, arrived one evening with a USB drive that made Sarah's hands tremble with anticipation. "He never thought I kept copies," Jessica said, her voice barely above a whisper. The drive contained dozens of emails showing Thompson had deliberately hidden legal warnings about the road's private status from the HOA board. More damning still were the private messages to developers, promising them guaranteed access to land he didn't own. Sarah's next-door neighbor, Robert Martinez, no relation to Diana, brought his 30 years of journalism experience to the table. "This isn't just about your road anymore," he explained, helping Sarah craft a compelling narrative for the local news. This is about protecting everyone's property rights. Within days, Save Sarah's road signs sprouted across lawns throughout Pine Grove, their simple design created pro bono by Sarah's graphic design firm. The community's response shocked Thompson's camp. Even his most loyal board members began avoiding his calls as evidence of his deception mounted. The construction equipment stood idle, gathering dust under the watchful eyes of community members who volunteered to monitor the road in shifts. Mrs. Patterson, an 80-year-old resident, set up her lawn chair at the entrance every morning, armed with her iPad to document any unauthorized activity. Sarah's daughter Emma proved particularly skilled at social media warfare. Her TikTok videos about the situation went viral in the local community, featuring before and after shots of Thompson's previous development victims set to trending music. The pressure mounted when Emma discovered Thompson's son bragging on Instagram about his father's plans to pave over the peasants. In the eye of this storm, Sarah found unexpected strength. Each morning, she walked Max along her gravel road, documenting any changes with her camera. The construction crews, facing constant scrutiny from residents and local media, began calling in sick. Thompson's perfectly crafted public image cracked further when Diana's legal team uncovered his history of unpaid contractors and environmental violations. Remember, Diana told Sarah as they prepared their court documentation, Goliath looked invincible too, until he didn't. The county courthouse steps were crowded by 7 a.m., 2 hours before the hearing. Sarah arrived to find her neighbors had organized a breakfast picnic, complete with Save Sarah's Road cookies, decorated by Emma's friend Ashley. Inside, the hearing room couldn't contain the crowd. Residents spilled into the hallway, many taking time off work to witness the showdown they'd been following for weeks. Marcus Thompson's entrance was notably different from his previous strutting appearances. His Armani suit looked slightly rumpled, his usual entourage reduced to a single attorney who kept checking his phone. The whispers in the courthouse grew when Jessica Winters walked in, escorted by Diana Martins, carrying a thick folder of documents. "Your Honor," Diana began, her voice steady and clear. "This case is about more than a gravel road. It's about the abuse of power, the manipulation of community trust, and one man's pattern of treating private property rights as suggestions rather than law." The judge, an older woman with steel-gray hair and sharp eyes, leaned forward as Diana methodically laid out their case. The decisive moment came when Diana projected a series of Thompson's social media posts onto the courtroom screen. Photos of him popping champagne with developers on Sarah's road, messages about claiming private property, and most damaging, private messages discussing how to circumvent property laws. Each piece of evidence landed like a hammer blow. Thompson's composure finally cracked during cross-examination. When questioned about the suppressed legal warnings, he snapped. "Sometimes you have to break a few eggs to make an omelette." The courtroom erupted in murmurs, and the judge's gavel crack echoed like thunder. The verdict was unequivocal. Not only was Sarah's road confirmed as private property, but Thompson faced hefty fines for attempted property theft, misleading the HOA board, and legal fees. His development permits were suspended pending investigation, and he was barred from serving on any HOA board in the county. The victory celebration spread across 3 backyards, centered around Sarah's gravel road. Mrs. Patterson set up her lawn chair one last time, this time serving lemonade to celebrating neighbors. Emma's TikTok of the judge's ruling went viral, reaching former residents from Thompson's other developments who began filing their own legal actions. 2 months later, Pine Grove's new HOA president, retired civil rights attorney Grace Washington, worked with the community to draft bylaws protecting private property rights. The water park plan was redesigned with community input, relocated to properly zoned land that Thompson had overlooked in his haste to seize Sarah's road. Sarah's gravel road remained unpaved, now telling a new story. On weekends, she often found neighbors walking their dogs there, children learning to ride bikes, and even a local art class sketching the old oak trees along its path. The road had become a symbol of something larger, how one person's stand against injustice could unite and strengthen an entire community. You know, Emma told her mother one evening as they walked Max along their familiar path. I used to think this was just an old gravel road. Now I know it's something more. It's proof that standing up for what's right still matters. Sarah smiled, watching the sunset paint their victory in shades of gold. Sometimes the biggest wins come on the smallest roads. Sarah Chen nearly spilled her morning coffee when she saw the bulldozer tracks cutting across her private gravel road. For 15 years, she personally maintained every inch of this winding country path, from filling potholes to clearing fallen branches after storms. The road wasn't just access to her home. It was where she taught her daughter to ride a bike, where she walked her aging golden retriever Max every evening, and where generations of local wildlife had made their crossing. The October morning air felt unusually sharp as Sarah traced the mechanical scars marring her carefully maintained gravel. Last weekend, she'd spent hours spreading fresh gravel near the entrance, a ritual she performed every autumn since buying the property. The road had been her sanctuary, a quarter-mile stretch of peace connecting her restored farmhouse to the main street. She'd chosen this location specifically for its privacy, paying a premium for the 2 acres that included the private access road. The official-looking notice staked near her mailbox made her stomach lurch. Printed on expensive letterhead with the gaudy new Pine Grove Homeowners Association logo, it detailed plans to modernize and integrate her road into the community's infrastructure. Marcus Thompson, whose signature dominated the bottom of the page, had apparently decided her private road would make the perfect entrance to their planned water park complex. The notice's carefully worded legal jargon couldn't disguise its true message. They were taking her land. Sarah's hands trembled as she read the fine print. Construction would begin in 48 hours. Her mind raced through recent changes in the neighborhood, the sudden appearance of development signs, the mysterious closed-door meetings at the community center, the increasing number of luxury cars cruising down her quiet street. The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. While she'd been focused on her graphic design business and caring for her teenage daughter Emma, the new HOA had been plotting to reshape the entire neighborhood. Inside her kitchen, Sarah's phone buzzed with messages from neighbors. Apparently, she wasn't the only one blindsided by Thompson's aggressive plans. Ellen from 2 doors down reported seeing surveyors on her property without permission. The Rodriguez family's carefully tended garden had been marked for community landscaping assessment. But Sarah's road, her private road, deeded to her property since 1962, that was the crown jewel in Thompson's expansion plans. The construction notice crumpled in Sarah's fist as she watched a sleek black SUV roll slowly past her house. Behind the tinted windows, she caught a glimpse of Marcus Thompson himself, his satisfaction evident even at a distance. He had no idea what was coming. Sarah Chen, who'd fought her way up from a starter home to this piece of paradise, who'd raised a daughter alone while building a successful business, who'd never backed down from a fight. She wasn't about to start now. She reached for her phone, fingers flying over the keypad as she Googled property rights attorney. The war for Pine Grove was about to begin.